Hello, everybody. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. My name is Sam, and this week I cannot believe it is time to do my July reading wrap up. I feel like it has been forever since I read some of these books, as per usual. But looking at the list of books that I read, I had an okay reading month, a lot of kind of middle of the road books, but also one new absolute favorite read. So let's just jump in. In July, I ended up reading 11 books. So let's talk about them. Starting out the month, I read Three Swedish Mountain Men by Lily Gold. So I did read this while I was away visiting family at a cottage. And this is a winter set book, so this was definitely not the time to be reading this book, but this was a lot of fun. I thought it was just like a silly, typical romance, why choose sort of situation. I did feel like some of the dialogue was a bit pushy and wasn't really, I don't know, there wasn't that emotional connection between our characters. In this one, we are following our female main character who gets stuck on the side of the mountain because a moose shows up, I believe, and it crashes her car. And then these guys that live on this mountain in Sweden come to her rescue, and she ends up living with them, and things ensue. There was some like drama happening with her life and the reason why she came to Sweden. And I liked that a lot. I thought it was interesting, but I wish that we got a little bit more, or it was handled like a little bit differently. I don't know. There just wasn't that emotional connection for me. So this was a 3-star read. Nothing bad. Definitely enjoyed my time while I was reading it, but I clearly haven't thought about it since. Next, I read This Could Be Us by Kennedy Ryan. In this one, we are following Soledad, who is married to this awful man. And she finds out that he has gotten them into some financial trouble, and she ends up having to do a lot for herself and her family to get out of this situation, and just like realize a lot of things about her husband that she has been with for a long time. That's another thing I really like about Kennedy Ryan's books, or at least this series. Our main characters are a lot older. They have kids that are in their teens. They are kind of on their redemption story. Either the characters are reconnecting or they're divorcing and finding a life that they're fully happy in. And so that was just so inspiring. She ended up doing some like content creation type work, and I just wanted to follow her. She was like very much just like a home content, sharing cleaning, sharing recipes, like that type of content. I just really, yeah, it was just really inspiring that she was doing this for herself, doing this for her family, just the messaging that she was sharing with her community, and just the way that she was a mom was just so beautiful. I do feel like the relationship in this didn't have much of a backing. Like there was no proof of their relationship. It just felt like all of a sudden they were in love and merging their lives together. I wanted more of that intermingleness. And our main character also had two autistic kids, which I really enjoyed that addition and the way that his kids were portrayed in very different ways, and the way that they, yeah, I guess lived and reacted to the world. I thought it was really interesting, and I kind of wish that we had more of that interaction between Soledad and her family and then his kids. But this was a 4-star. I really enjoyed it. It just really touched something in my heart. Next, I read Glint by Raven Kennedy. This is book 2 in the Plated Prisoner series. In this one, I feel like we got some character development for our main character, Oren. We also got additional POV chapters, which was very interesting, and got to see kind of more of the chess pieces that were in play in this political game board. Got to see a bit more of the world and some new relationships that were forming. It's all a very interesting dynamics, and clearly there are a lot of secrets happening, but at the same time this was kind of slow and it took me a bit to get into and want to pick it up. So for that, it was a 3-star. I've been enjoying my time with the series, but I definitely feel like I need to try to read them closer together because it's just more fun when we binge series. There's just so many books and so little time. I just want to read everything all at once. But unfortunately, that's not possible. So, and to try and figure out a way to prioritize series. I don't know if there's any series that you guys want me to focus on that have in reading vlogs that I have already started, or have any suggestions of the way that I can do this, because yeah, I just don't want to forget about the series that I'm reading and just really dive into them fully. Next, I continued my audiobook reread of A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. The graphic audio are growing on me. There are definitely some situations where I really dislike them when they have so many background noises and special effect like sounds going on that you can't even hear the dialogue. But I think this one was pretty good. I feel like there was actually a lot that I forgot, or like the sequence of events I kind of forgot, maybe some like reasoning behind it. So I'm enjoying my time rereading these, but definitely not as good for me as I initially read them. I have this listed as a 4-star now. I think it's been a 4-star, it's been a 5-star. I don't know. They're fine. I do really enjoy some of the messaging in this series, and just like the perseverance and finding yourself, and the banter between all the inner circle. So much fun. I feel like if you haven't read or heard of ACOTAR, maybe you're just new to the book community, but very classic fantasy that gets a lot of people into reading. I read that series I think 3 times. These couple of the books. I'm excited but terrified to get into Silver Flames, because that is by far my favorite book, and I hope that this experience doesn't ruin it. The next few books are in a reading vlog, so I'll link that up in the cards. But the next book that I read was The Compound by Aisling Roll. This was such an interesting read. In this one, we have a group of characters that all find themselves at this compound for a reality TV competition. And essentially they have to, in the beginning of the show, they have to pair up with somebody from the opposite sex and share a bed together. And if you find your bed empty, or you can't find somebody to pair up with, then you have to leave the compound before sunrise. And then at a certain point, it's kind of everybody for themselves. And it was just a very interesting study on humans and human nature, I guess, and just the different ways that people take to these situations, and how power drives some more than others, or in different ways. They had to complete these different tasks in order to get things to improve the compound, or to improve their chances of winning. So, like, for example, in the beginning, there's not a door on this compound, and so through various challenges they have to try to complete and get a challenge that would earn them a door. I found that to be very interesting, and I wish that we got to see more of the personal tasks specifically, because I feel like it was just stated that, oh yeah, and this task they did the other day, I got a mug. What did you have to do? Like, a lot of these situations were the catalyst for personal discussions, and at the end of the book I just wanted a little bit more. But yeah, it was a very interesting take. I did also find the POV that we were following in this book was an interesting choice, because she didn't seem very motivated by anything. She wasn't very outspoken, and so I just felt like a very interesting choice as a main character. But I ended up rating this 3.5 stars, so I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. It was very interesting, but yeah, nothing super special. Next, I read Josh and Hazel's Guide to Not Dating by Christina Lauren. This was so much fun. In this one, we're following Josh and Hazel, who had multiple run-ins with each other, and they found themselves in another situation together and are sort of forming this friendship. And Hazel is very quirky, but she really owns it. She owns herself. She doesn't take anyone's crap, and she's not also going to dim herself just for the benefit of somebody else. And you could just tell how much the characters cared for each other as the book went on. So this was a lot of fun. However, the last conflict I just really didn't like, and I felt like it really was unnecessary. Our characters were already kind of battling seemingly enough as it was without throwing this into the mix, and it was thrown into the mix when there wasn't enough time to really expand on it. It was kind of just something that was thrown in and then resolved in the epilogue. So that was really annoying and also really bothered me and definitely took my rating down a bit. So this was a 3.5 star. Still a lot of fun. Still really enjoyed reading it. I was smiling and giggling the whole time. Next, I read S'more of You by Tessa Bailey. This is the first short story in Amazon's short story summer collection. And unfortunately, this did not hit for me at all. This was 2.5 stars. More of You takes place in a camp and follows two camp counselors slash the owner of the camp. And our female main character has been pining over this guy for like the 8 years that she has been going to this camp. She's now like 21. And just everything that they are doing just felt so juvenile. They should have been like max 17, and that was even a stretch. There's just like communication is non-existent. The care for these kids seemingly was non-existent. They just kind of like went off for like a whole night. Like, are you not supposed to be in charge of these little campers? So yeah, 2.5 stars was not great. Honestly, did not have high hopes because I haven't loved some of Tessa Bailey's other books that I have read. I want to still finish this little short story series because, you know, it's very quick, adds to your TBR or adds to your completed reads list, and they're a bit of fun. It's like satisfying knowing that you ticked off a book, even though it was just very short, kind of breaks up some of these longer reads. Next book I read was The Woman by Kristen Hanna. This was easily a 5-6 star read. I feel like I felt every emotion in this book. It was full of hope and grief and pain and suffering and anger and angst and powerlessness and friendship. The friendship in this book was so good. In this one, we are following our main character, Frankie. Yes, we're following Frankie, who follows her brother to help in the Vietnam War as a nurse. But there is so much misinformation about this war that makes her life very difficult when she comes back. Yeah, that's all I'm gonna really say about that. It's a very hard read, but at the same time, it's very full of hope and perseverance, and the friendships are like unmatched. I will say that some of the events in this book felt like they were very monumental events for Frankie, and they were summarized in like half a page or a page. And so I wish it was expanded on a bit more because a lot of these things were just kind of left out there, and then we see the after effects. But yeah, this was so good. Again, I just wanted to go and research more about the Vietnam War and learn about these people that were affected both during and after. And I feel like it also just started so many important movements. I don't know, just so good. It feels like such an important read, but definitely go in. Check your trigger warnings. There's very heavy themes, very graphic scenes. Yeah, you really feel it all with Frankie. Next, I read Savor It by Tara DeWitt. This is my first Tara DeWitt book, and I really enjoyed it. I really loved our characters. It felt like very hands in the ground, like really getting back in touch with nature and finding yourself and finding your like peace with life. It was just so good. In this one, we were following Sage, who has some grief in her past, and she's a teacher. She has this kind of homesteady kind of home where she's very in touch with nature. She's cares for a lot of animals. She grows plants and vegetables. She's working through some things. And we're also following a Fisher who is a chef from New York. He is caring for his niece, and he's come to Spartans, Oregon to help get started on this new restaurant. And so we know that there's a time limit on this relationship. He's only there for the summer. And we just see this friendship bloom. And yeah, it was just such a beautiful story. So this was 4 stars. Really enjoyed it. I feel like I might like some of the other books in the series even more. I know that Lost and Found, I believe, is coming out on August 4th, which I have the arc for that, and I definitely need to catch up on the series and be able to read that one, which is so beautiful. It made me want to start a garden like right now. I have a bunch of plants in my room, which you might have seen from other videos. My room gets real hot, so they're struggling a bit right now. Next, I did an audiobook reread of When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker in anticipation of my library hold for Ballad of Fallen Dragons. I'm still confused and I need to watch some recaps. The audiobook, I should have just not finished it. It was awful to me. I really didn't like either of the narrators at all. So the audiobook was 2.5 stars. That's all I really have to say. In this one, we're following Rave, who is on a revenge path and sort of stumbles into all of these strange situations. There's a lot of other things happening. There are diary entries that you don't know who they are about, and there's a lot of questions. Like, this book is so large, but this font is also so massive. Anyway, yeah, I honestly don't know what to say about this book because I'm still struggling. But audiobook, terrible. Story, still probably like 3.5 stars. And the last book that I read this month that I actually just finished this morning was Shield of Sparrows by Devoney Perry. I do have a reading vlog coming for this, so stay tuned for that. But I enjoyed this book. I found it a bit difficult to get into. Had a bit of a slow start. I wasn't really sure what the point of like the book was, what we were trying to work towards. But in this one, we are following Odessa, who was chosen as a bride for this other territory. However, she was never supposed to be the intended bride for this legal contract, and she was never trained to be royal. She was never trained to be a spy, and the prince that she is married off to is part of the Tura kingdom, and it's very secretive. And so her dad sends her off asking her to spy for him, get some information on these lands. However, there are also a lot of monsters in this book. They are anticipating the Crux to come for their migration, which they come and they like eat everybody. So there's the impending that. There's also a lot of other monsters that take place in this book, and it's just very fascinating. The way that these monsters are depicted are so vibrant, and I still definitely need to try to look up some fan art for them because, oh boy. Yeah, lots of secrets, a lot of twists. Some of these twists definitely got me, didn't see them coming. Some of them were very predictable, but I still felt that satisfaction and excitement when the twist did come to place. So 4 stars, really solid fantasy, pretty good. Excited to continue this series. But that is everything. Those are all of the books that I read in the month of July. Have you read any of these books? I would love to chat with you. Let me know down below what your favorite book from July was. If you'd like to find me on other corners of the internet, all of my links are linked down below. I hope that you have a great rest of your week, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.